Hello, everybody, and welcome to the HCW show. We are going to be reviewing Rate's annual award for Company of the Year. We've got a Tag Team of the Year coming up. Rate will go through the other categories because they're the only two I know off the top of my head. Well, basically, what happens with these awards is based on the shows that these companies put on, Rate updates his database, usually gets released on his website. But as we've got this platform now, we're going to release it here. Yeah, he updates them weekly, monthly, however he does it. And based on how he rates them, we are going to place them in order according to his ratings. This will get released, like we said, every 12 months. And yeah, we'll take it from there. But before we get cracking, how are you doing today, Ray?
Yeah, doing all right. I've got a weekend off, which is the best thing. I need to film a couple of these, then I need to edit our quiz video, which will be coming out tonight, which obviously won't be coming out tonight when the video is released. But yeah, so I think there'll be two out by the time this comes out, but fair enough. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, mate, not too bad. Just like had a random week off myself. Wasn't planned or anything like that, it's just happened. But yeah, not too bad. Go back to work Sunday, so I don't know when this video is coming out, but while we're recording it, it's tomorrow. So
it'll be out if the 9th's Monday. It'll be out the week afterwards. So the 16th.
Oh right, okay.
There we go.
Yeah. So probably a lot of stuff has happened to us both in that.
Yeah,
time,
one of us could be dead.
Oh, can you imagine that
now? And it's neither one of us.
Yeah. IDP. Well, no. Do you want to explain a bit more? I don't know if I've got everything.
Yeah.
In my little spiel I did at the start.
So basically, to give it in a nutshell, I've been rating, like obviously I've been watching wrestling for a while, but I've been rating them since 2019. So it's just an average rating list. So obviously 5 stars is the highest, and then each matchup. It's only based upon the events they show, because obviously if I did Raw and SmackDown every week, WWE and AEW would be right at the bottom, because you can't have, as I said to you before, you can't have like 5-star matches on normal TV every week. It's all based upon, so for example, I've been watching ECW, WWE and Thingy, so it's all about the pay-per-view events in the past as well, so it's not all just new companies, like, it's like an overall ranking which I release every year, and it is what it is. It's easy to explain as I show the first person, I'm guessing.
I was going to say, there's method to it, it's not like you've just thrown it together and said, this is what I think this time. There's like you've had stuff going on in the past where your rankings from the past count because
it's just overall,
and they have a banger year, whichever year you're watching, they go up.
Yeah. Again, it's just an overall thing, so you'll see companies that might not be around anymore. So it's just I've watched older events. But we will kick it off then.
Yeah, so this is the Company of the Year, this video.
Yeah, so I like to do top 50s, but basically, to qualify for this year, last year it was at least to have watched 50 matches from each company. This year it's 60, because eventually I'll build it up to 100, because 100's like a stable kind of medium. But so only 22 companies qualified, which is still a decent amount. So we're kicking off with number 22, which was ECW, which sums up where we're going from this. So ECW, to give you kind of parameters, which there will be a graphic on screen that I'm going to do. So I've watched 250 ECW matches from 1993 pay-per-view. I've been watching pay-per-view versions of them, and I'm up to 1998 with them. And it's the same with WWE and WCW when it's old school. Obviously, WWE I've watched recent. Otherwise, the podcast is a lie. So yeah, 250 matches. Average 2.25 stars per match, basically. Last year they ranked 23rd in the rankings, so there's one company that hasn't got on the list this year, and their highest ever ranking was 14th. So ECW pretty much was the trouble with ECW. The start of them in like 1993, so forth. They had so many squash matches. Like you'd have matches where it would be a guy, just like a big guy like Mr. Hughes, randomly just squashing someone on a pay-per-view, and it'll be like a 0-star match because it was just him clotheslining, that'll be it. And they only really got good probably in the 1995 onwards, where they started getting Sabu and Sandman and people like that. Like the highest ever rated match I've got for ECW is a 5-star. It's Cyberslam 1996, which was Sabu versus Too Cold Scorpio. which was just an incredible banger of a match. But they do put on good contests. It's just they were let down from the early starts, and obviously it is what it is with the ratings. I can't go, they were let down earlier, but they're fine now. But yeah, so they ranked 22nd. So ECW is a company you would have watched.
Yeah, I mean, Andy improved from 23rd to 22nd. We won't go through the semantics of it. And why
good for them. Default.
Yeah.
So yeah, they bottom of the list, but as I said, they do get better onwards. So I'm looking forward to the matches, especially because they had proper pay-per-view proper pay-per-view from 1997 onwards, and I've only just got there.
Yeah.
So next up, the NWA. This is proper NWAs in from now until 80s is probably the earliest I've watched of it. So I've watched 209 matches of the NWA, average 2.43, so it's a big difference between ECW straight away. Last year they ranked 22nd, and the highest ever they've been is 12th, but that's obviously because it was building up and so forth like that. NWA is once again, it's a period that you'd have bangers like my top ever highest rated match is Flair versus Steamboat, which obviously everyone goes on about. But you'd have matches like that, and then you'd have Ricky Garvin fighting someone and beating them within 20 seconds. It's another squash kind of spectacular. And then obviously it was around the time when WCW first formed, and they were WCW NWA, and you'd have people just awful people on their roster basically. People I can think and the big gimmicks like Big John the Lumberjack, stuff like that. So, this is mainly based upon, the older NWA. I haven't watched modern NWA that much at all. There is a couple events I've watched, but so they're in there, but they're not as massive.
Yeah.
You watch much NWA?
No.
Wonderful. I'm glad for your input there. To be fair, I don't think DP has either, thinking about it. I don't think you might have watched modern NWA. On to number 20, CZW. So CZW, I watched because of basically I've watched 149 matches, and I'd probably say about 120 of them of Tournament of Death matches. Because I love a good Tournament of Death. They rate 2.44, so they're only 0.1 above the NWA. Imagine if you said to Jim Cornette, this deathmatch wrestling's above your NWA wrestling. Last year they were 21st, highest rating 11th. You can see kind of a choreographer that it's pretty much the same group at the bottom here.
I was going to say they keep all moving up by one because one company didn't qualify.
Yeah, pretty much. I've never watched a 5-star match in CZW. I'm just going to have a quick gander. I've had a few 4Z, 4Zoo.
Are you okay, mate?
I'm not. I think I'm having a stroke. Genuinely. So the highest
not
ever
on camera.
Oh no. Follow us on OnlyFans. We don't have an OnlyFans. So the highest ever rated CZW match, CZW, god damn it. I'm going to get there. I'm not deleting any of this. You can see me having a stroke live on camera. Tournament of Death 7, 2008, which was Scotty Vortex. I bet you've heard of him. Versus Nick Gage. You've got to have heard of him.
Yeah, I've heard of Nick Gage.
The bank-addicted drug robber, as Jim Cornette would say. Versus Danny Havoc, who he didn't recently passed away. He last 5 years ago. And this will be one that you would have heard of. Drake Younger.
Was he an Impact?
He was the WWE referee that went off the deep end, if you remember, and he was like a proper Trump supporter, and then he just went mental. The guy that was tanned all the time.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
It was a Tournament of Death match. It was just absolute chaos. Tournament of Death's just a fun thing. If you like death matches, I don't think you're a massive fan, are you?
Not massive. No, I like the odd one. I can persevere with it on my TV.
But you can see a
it's
whole
not something
tournament.
I can watch over and over and over.
Oh, I love them. Obviously, you do have ass ones, and then they used to have matches in between. Because you can't have a 8-man tournament and have the 4 matches, then go straight into the semi-final. So they have to have a break. But it used to be first 6 years. It used to be some awful wrestlers in the middle. But overall, CZW, I haven't watched them recently. Last Tournament of Death I watched had Clint Margera and stuff like that, which I was really excited about because UK guys going over.
Yeah.
But I didn't hear much about the more recent ones. Next up, a company you probably have watched at number 19, WCW.
Yeah, I think everyone. Don't tell me, were they 20th last year?
Moving on. So, I've seen 561 matches of WCW, 2.55 average rating, so just above average. They were 20th last year. And then 13th for the year, like the highest ever rankings of them. So WCW, the same NWA reasons. So like they were linked with NWA in 1990, and then they kind of went out themselves. But obviously, as you've seen WCW matches, there's some great ones, and then there's some absolute like, what is this kind of going on thing.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Like, where are you up to with WCW?
1998. So ECW.
Oh, it's not getting bad soon.
Yeah, so that's worse, isn't it? So ECW, WWE, and WCW I've watched in order of pay-per-views, not like all the TV because I'd still be in 1990. But yeah, like the pay-per-views, so they're all up to 1998. I was literally watching before we came on air. I'm halfway through No Way Out, the first ever one, WWF.
Yeah.
But yeah, so WCW, like the trouble was they had awful matches. Like they don't have like you don't have like a stacked card. You'll have like the stacked main event area, and then the other matches are quite, and then you'll have like a good opener, and then like the middle's just hodgepodge. Like WCW, the highest I do have 5-star for WCW, which was Wrestle War, which was a War Games match. Gotta love a War Games. Which was the Dangerous Alliance, which was Arn Anderson, Beautiful Bobby Eaton, Larry Zbyszko, Rick Rude, and Stunning Steve Austin, versus Sting's Squadron, which was Barry Windham, Dustin Rhodes, Nikita Koloff, not Volkov, Ricky Steamboat, and surprisingly Sting in Sting's Squadron. It's a banger of a match. I'd highly recommend it on the network. It's now a premium live event probably rather than a pay-per-view, but fair enough. Then in number 18, we've got AAA. So I went on a spiel of watching Triple Mania, like from like because I used to get them off my mate. So like these are from like 2008 onwards. The Triple Mania. I watched 64 of them. 2.61 is the average rating. Last year they were 17th. How's about
that? Wow. Still the only company so far to lose a place.
Lose a place generally. Not because of random things. Just happened. AAA is fun. They also like they have the big stars and so forth like that, but they also have like in the early AAA it was the old school like WWE where you'd have like the what's the correct way? At that point, it was like the mini wrestlers they used to call them. I don't know if that still is a correct term, mini wrestlers. Do you know like
midget?
Yeah. But they used to. The fun thing was they used to be like mini versions of like the actual wrestlers. So it weren't like just a. They were just like mini chessmen and mini Pagano and stuff like that. So it was just a version of the actual wrestlers. I'm assuming you haven't watched many AAA events.
No, I have not.
So the first event you might not have heard. So the highest ever rate I've got is 4.25 stars for AAA, which was the first one was Pagano versus Chessman, which I'm guessing you would have no clue what was going on there.
Nope.
The second one you would have heard a few of them. So it was Laredo Kid, who's been on AEW a few times.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Black Taurus, who's on Impact. He's the bull guy. Phoenix, you've clearly would have heard of him.
Yep.
Bandido.
Yeah, I've heard of Bandido. He's been on AEW.
Yeah, he is. I think he's signed now. I'm sure he is. He's the guy that wears literally the bandana there, and then as his face, you can see his eyes. And then El Helio del Blanquingo, who you would have heard of because he's in my TEW team.
Yeah, I was going to say that name haunted me. I think, because of the edit in the database.
So we need to get back on TEW, by the way, as a side note to this whole thing.
Definitely.
So yeah, that was they're the highest matches rated on these shows. As I said, like you can check out my website to see how I've rated each match and like individually and like that, because I don't want to bore you going through individual things. Like, so it's just pretty much where they are, how they're ranked, and then what's the highest rated matches on this list. And you can go check it out if you want. Number 17, Impact Wrestling / TNA. Um,
/ everything else they've ever been called.
yeah. So they're 17th. They've had 552 matches I've seen. 2.61 average rating, and they were 18th last year, so it's back to the usual ranking system. Impact. So they've had weird ones. Impact. So TNA, early TNA, loved it. Middle TNA went a bit ass when Hulk Hogan and Dixie Carter went mental. So Jeff Jarrett's TNA was great. Dixie Carter's TNA with Hulk Hogan was awful. Then they had a middle period where I didn't even care to watch it. And then recently, I don't watch it weekly, but they do have bangers of matches. Like the last lot, Josh Alexander's basically carrying these matches, to be fair. Like if I look at my ratings on here, look, I've got 3 Impact Wrestling matches. So the first one is Sami Callihan. This is the 4.75 is the highest ever, so I've never got a 5-star with Impact. So Sami Callihan versus Tessa Blanchard is one of them. We all remember Tessa Blanchard.
Yeah,
it makes me sad. And then the next 2 were both from last year. So Josh Alexander versus Frankie Kazarian, and then Josh Alexander versus Mike Bailey. So pretty much Josh Alexander is boosting the ratings of the Impact. Like, not saying the other guys are not letting, but Josh Alexander's a level above both at the moment, and that's why he's in my TEW company.
Which is fair. No, I went to see very early TNA in Liverpool. I can't remember what the venue was called. It'll still be there now, probably just not used, but it looked very derelict when I went at the time. But it was just as they'd signed Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
And it was mint, to be fair. It was absolutely unreal. But Dixie Carter was sat in with the fans and just going around speaking to people. It's so random now. When you look back at it and think, I've actually sat like next to this woman and spoken to her.
Yeah.
And now it's just like as if that happened.
Yeah, that's really odd.
Yeah, like all the wrestlers stayed behind at the end. They let you go to ringside and meet all the wrestlers. Like, got Earl Hebner's autograph somewhere.
All the people you're going to throw out there.
Earl Hebner. Yeah. I mean, honestly, he was one of the most friendly people there.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe, Abyss, Kurt Angle, obviously. AJ Styles. It was great.
That is incredible. See the stacked roster they had there.
Yeah.
AJ Styles, Kurt Angle, and Samoa Joe. And then, so going in at number 16, we'll quicker the pace slightly. So we've got AAW, which is the American Indie promotion. I kind of went mental on them in like 2020. Like, I've watched 69 matches. Nice. Average rating of 2.61. So they're tied with Impact. Which technically, Impact could slightly go above them because they've had more matches, but so it's pretty much flip-flop between them. 2.61. Last year they were 15th, so we're carrying on that thing. It's probably the whole. I've not even looked at this. It probably could be that. This is a whole year's worth of work as well, so it could have been nothing's changed. So AAW, I started watching them because there was a team called the Besties in the World, which came in Fight Club Pro and stuff like that, and I really enjoyed their wrestling matches. And they had Callahan on top and stuff like that. The highest ever rated match was Fred Yeehigh versus Josh Alexander, the man, the myth, the legend. It's just everywhere. This was 2021. This wasn't even when I was big on Josh Alexander. Alexander was just good wrestler, and I've noticed. But yeah, so AEW is, I was watching a lot of them on, there was an on-demand service, which I can't remember off the top of my head. It was proper, I used to watch PWG and stuff on there and so forth, but it's like a proper on-demand service. But yeah, so they come in at number 16. Number 15, WWE.
Wow.
15th rated, that's insane, isn't it? Think about it. WWE, the company I watch weekly and stuff like that, is only 15th. So I've watched 856 event matches of WWE. 2.71 average rating. They were 16th last year, shut up. And the trouble is, they had awful pay-per-views early 90s. You'd have the main event scene, but then you'd have people flipping, I can't think, Jim Duggan. Brutus the Barber Beefcake, fine characters, but stinking up the joint, basically. Modern WWE, there was good things, but then you'd also had the middle period in 2019, 2020, where you'd have a good match, but then you'd have ass matches. And then obviously they have squash matches on pay-per-view at one point. Like Becky Lynch ruining Bianca Belair in 20 seconds. You know, that's instantly a 0.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it is what it is. Top 3, these are all 5 stars. So you got Bret Hart versus Steve Austin. And then 2 NXT matches, 1 UK, 1 Takeover. So the first one was Gargano versus Reed versus Grimes versus Priest versus the Velveteen Dream of all people, in a 5-star classic, which was a ladder match. I think it was for the North American title. It might have been the original North American title, think about it. I'll have to check back on that. And then, weirdly enough, a UK takeover, Blackpool, which was Gallus versus the Grizzle Young Vets versus FMW, which Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews, and the original Imperium. Really, really enjoyed that matchup. Obviously, WWE have had bangers recently, and they're probably going to build their way back up now. Unless certain news ruins stuff. It is what it is. By the time this come out, we can find out what's going on with that.
Yeah.
Next up, 14th, we've got Fight Club Pro, which was run by Trent Seven. It's kind of defunct now because there was obviously the speaking out movement and there was a lot of stuff going behind. 121 matches, 2.75 ratings. They were 12th last year, so that's a change. So it's 14th to 12th.
That's the biggest change so far.
Yeah, so that's a good change. So Fight Club Pro was just an easy, because they were in Wolverhampton, they're quite easy to get to, and they used to have some banging matches. Like, I'm a big fan of Chris Brooks. They used to get, like, before NXT UK came about, you had, like, the proper NXT UK wrestlers on there, Dragunov. Ospreay, obviously, is not UK, but he was on there a lot. And you just have, like, great storylines in between. So, like, the top rated matches I got for them was 4.5. Which was Travis Banks, Will Ospreay, and Wolfgang versus British Strong Style, which sounds incredible. And then Mark Davis of Aussie Open versus Will Ospreay, Pac, and Dan Maloney. What a fatal four that is. But just overall, like, they were fun events, and it's gutting to see them gone. Like, they might come back now that Trent's kind of not in the UK, NXT UK kind of thing. Next up, number 13, we've got Kamikaze Pro, so my local outfit. I've watched 130 matches. I've probably watched more. Well, these are all from 2019 onwards, so I haven't rated anything previous to that. 130 matches, 2.79, so they're beating WWE and WCW and ECW and people like that. Kamikaze Pro, at the moment, they have a trouble that, like, they have bad luck. So basically, they'll be on a roll, and then something will happen, like there'll be a venue issue, and then their shows will just be stopped for, like, months on end. They were on a roll before COVID, and then COVID happened. Highest ever rated match, which was 4.34, which was Millie McKenzie versus Chantel Jordan. Just an utter kick the crap out of each other kind of matchup. I was really surprised by how good it was, because they're both, like, Chantel was early on in her career, and Millie was just starting to become everywhere. And then the second match, to sum up Kamikaze, 4.5, which was Chantel Jordan versus Joey Janela.
Nice.
That's an incredible matchup to hear, isn't it? They fought in a fish and chip shop.
I remember hearing about it.
And then I
remember seeing clips of this.
Like they stopped a bus, like an actual bus, and started fighting on a bus while passengers were there. What's happening?
I think I've seen this online.
But so they were the 13th, and last year, here's the change for you. They were 19th.
Wow,
that's the step up that we want. This is showing that the rankings are not just the same every year. Coming in at number 12, we've got Evolve Wrestling, who are now defunct because they were brought by WWE, and like I've been watching a lot of their pay-per-views on the network, like the early stuff where you had Zayn and Generico, and Zayn and Generico, I've just said there. Generico and Owens, that's where I wanted to go, and people like that. I've watched 75 matches and 2.81. They were 14th last year, so there is a difference going on now. It's not just the same stuff like this. So I'm not a fraud. The trouble is, it's just a year is a year, isn't it? Highest ever rated match for Evolve. We've got, let's have a look. So, the second event, which was Ikuto Hideka versus Chris Hero.
Okay.
Who's also on my TW wrestler. Ratings based upon my roster. Did you get to watch much Evolve at any point, or have you caught it on the network?
Nope.
should give it a go. Network. You see like old school like Kevin Owens and Luke Harper and Bryan Danielson when he was like starting out.
I just about have time to watch weekly shows for the podcast.
Quit your job. Live on camera. Number 11, we've got Progress. Watched 200 matches, average rating 2.82, so they're just above Evolve. They were 11th last year as well. Ooh. So pretty much the companies that were in it last year that are in it this year have probably slowed out now. Progress, they were pretty much, I loved Progress. And then after COVID, I wasn't into it as much. I've kind of slightly got back to it, and DP obviously is massively into it because he's the guy that goes to all the shows. I think the trouble with Progress is, prior to COVID, they relied on getting imports all the time. You just have imports, like I've seen Matt Riddle there, Gunther there, flipping Daxel Dieter Jr., Jigsaw, people like that. And then when they came back after COVID, they were having people like, just like the local talent. So, like, no offense to local talent, like, they're good to see, like, as, like, middle stage matches, but when you've seen, like, Keith Lee main event in Progress, and then it's just, like, two local boys doing it at the time being, it's kind of hard to get back into after COVID. But they've kind of got a bit better with it now and that lot. Like, they're always fun events to see when you can get around to them. Highest ever rated match was Aussie Open versus the Swords of Essex, which was Swords of Essex's Will Ospreay and Paul Robinson. It was TLC match, absolute chaos, loved it. I don't think I've ever rated a Progress match 5 stars, which I'm just going to have a quick scan down this list, which I haven't. But now we're moving into the top 10. So, top 10, Jim Cornette would love it, GCW, Game Changer Wrestling. I've watched 480 Game Changer Wrestling matches, which is an incredible stats for someone that lives in the UK. 2.84 rated. They were 10th last year there as well, so not really moved the position. The highest they've ever were was 6th. Game Changer Wrestling, I got involved with it because of the death matches. I'm going to be honest, as I've already said to you, I love a good death match. But then they started kind of changing up. Like, you'd have death matches, but then you'd also have Lucha Libre matches, and they'd bring in like people like Bright Christian. You would have saw Alex Zane that went to NXT. Like, my highest ever rated match, randomly, I didn't even say this prior to just saying this, so which was Joey Janela's Escape from LA was the event name, so it isn't Joey Janela in the match, but it was Alex Zane versus Bright Christian. After bringing them up, that's the highest ever rated match. I've got them 4.75. But they just had good storylines on there. They've got good stories at the moment. Matt Cardona coming and calling himself the king of the deathmatch and stuff like that. People like that. Nick Gage's battle, like, I've kind of gone off Nick Gage slightly now because he's getting more and more dishevelled. As in, like, he can barely walk. It's a bit awkward to watch. It would be like if Mick Foley carried on wrestling and was still wrestling now. That's what he would look. What he reminds me of movement-wise.
Yeah.
Up to number 9, PWG, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. I've watched 74 matches, so they've only just qualified in the 60 rating. 2.85. They were 9th last year as well. This is just an endless story now. PWG, I used to watch it a lot for the Battle of Los Angeles, the bowler tournaments, because they're just great. You just see like people that you wouldn't expect, seeing like Davey Richards versus Pete Dunne, someone like that. I don't think that match in particular happened, but it's just like you would see something like that happen. And there's just like absolute classics on there, like you just have it in the middle of a tournament. So my highest ever match was Davey Richards randomly throwing him. I'm really random that I'm just picking the first wrestling he's actually versus Michael Elgin of all people.
Right.
Like just an absolute banger of a match. Obviously I'm a fan of the Young Bucks. You're not, but like there was a lot of like classic high spot Young Bucks at this point. And then there was a great match, which was Super Dragon versus Kevin Steen, which was just brutal.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can imagine that being a brutal affair. Yeah.
Number 8, DDT Wrestling. So DDT Wrestling, for people that haven't watched it, is Japanese wrestling, but it's got a comedy element in it. Not every match is comedy. Like you'll have like the first couple of matches, you'll have the comedy wrestling, and then it's just serious. Like you have your Nakayama and people like that. Yeah. 153 matches I've watched. 2.89 rated. They were 8th last year as well. Like it's just a good alternative to New Japan, because New Japan is just like solid wrestling continuously with no kind of like story going between it half the time until you get to like the main events, whereas DDT is like fun. as well.
Yeah.
2 matches I've rated as the highest ever rated matches at 5 stars. So you had Yuji Okabayashi versus Konosuke Takeshita, who we've both seen now a lot. And then the other match was Tetsuya Endo versus Konsuke Takeshita. So the best bout machine in Japan, Takeshita. Like, if you get around to watching them, obviously I know you haven't watched them yourself because obviously you don't have time, let alone watching DDT. But you're like an orphan company. Next up, number 7, New Japan Pro Wrestling. So quite low down on the list.
I was going to say, I expected them when I'd heard the other rankings. I was like, New Japan's clearly going to be like top 3.
Yeah. Trouble New Japan, 601 matches I've watched, 2.93 average rating, so it is up there. Trouble with New Japan is they have so many just tag team matches. Like, because how they have it, as you've probably seen the odd New Japan, you'll have a Young Boys match, which is always just a draw or something like that. Then you'd have like 3 or 4 tag team matches just getting everyone else on. Then you'll have the main matches. So you'll have like a Young Boys match will be like 2 stars. The tag team matches might be in between 2 and 3. Then you'll have bangers. So the bottom of the card will bring it down, which is the trouble. 7th this year, 7th last year. I'm going to name a few 5 stars from New Japan because you'll be here for the rest of your life. So you have so first ever one I've got on here was Okada versus Ibushi, Okada versus Ospreay, Will Ospreay versus Takagi, Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega. I rated 5 stars. Absolute banger of a match.
Yeah, I have seen it. It was, I think Meltzer rated it 6.25.
Yeah, mine don't go above 5 stars. Let's not even. It's a 5-star rating. Like, imagine going to watch a film and going, that was 9.5 stars out of 5. What you on about? It's a 5-star film.
Yeah.
FTR versus Aussie Open. So the mainstays of New Japan 5 stars are Okada, Ibushi, Takagi, and Ospreay. Basically, they're the 5-star kings for myself. Next up, we've got number 6, which was Rev Pro. So a UK best company, 108 matches, 2.95 rating. Last year were 13th. So they flew up the ratings. Rev Pro were hit and miss for me early on, but like recently they've just been putting on like absolute 5-star classic matches. They've been able to bring back the New Japan guys, which can help as well. I've got 4 5-star matches with them. So you got Aussie Open versus Destination Everywhere, which is Connor Mills, the guy that should have died, and Michael Oko.
I'm glad you said that.
Out of context, that sounds mental. You'll have to find the review where Frozzy discussed that Connor Mills should probably be dead by now. Wrestling wise, not because of
wrestling wise. Yeah, no. There's no hatred between me and Connor Mills. It's just the guy should not be alive.
Let alone kicking out of a top rope tombstone. Ricky Knight Jr. versus Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay versus Ricky Knight Jr. And then FTR versus Aussie Open. 4 5-star bangers.
I'm pretty sure I reviewed all of these matches with DP.
I think the only ones you wouldn't have done is the first 2 because they were 2021. So the other 2 would be, I think, within, because we started early 2022, so it would be. So, now we're on the list with you, Next up, we've got Tokyo Japan Pro Wrestling at number 5, which is all-female wrestling division, which has people like Shida, Sakiaki, Yuka Sasaki. You would have heard them people, the magical girl. Struggling to think of random people now. Miyu Yamashita, which me and DP are mental on at the moment. She's also just backed out the Eve booking that she had today, which has made me
DP's
sad.
Wounded, isn't he?
Yeah, I wanted, like last time, DP, we're going to discuss DP live on this podcast. DP, I told him, can you get me a signature for Yamashita? Because I want a dog, she's awesome. He went, yeah. Went there, doesn't carry cash. He just pays by card. DP.
And she would only take cash.
Yeah, she's Japanese. Why would she have an English card machine? Well, DP. And then this time I went, bring your card, and she didn't even turn.
Well, if he took his card, he wouldn't be able to get one. You mean bring cash?
Yeah, that's the one. So yeah, they're at 5th. 92 matches I've seen, 2.99 rating. 6th last year. They're just a fun alternative to the Stardom brand. Because Stardom pretty much rules women's wrestling in Japan. So you've got like the higher up of Stardom. It's probably like a WWE AEW variant. So WWE is like the big company, but AEW's there to kind of rival them. So my highest rated matches for TJWP, which I'm going to find now. I'm just searching down the list. So there'll be two here. So you had Sakiaki and Yuki Arai versus your favourite tag team name you'll ever hear, the Magical Sugar Rabbits.
Okay.
Which I think is Yuki Sasaki and Mizuki, I believe. I haven't bracketed these. But they just put on, like, it's the same with New Japan. They have banger main events and middle card, and then the bottom is kind of like just the younger girls getting in and so forth and just training. Now we're in the top four now, Frozzy. We're nearly there. So top four, Pro Wrestling Noah. 126 matches, 3.10 rating. They were third last year, so they've dropped down slightly. Noah are just like the alternative to New Japan, but the big or like the wrestling variant of New Japan. So not like DDT in general, just the wrestling variant. My top rated matches from Noah are Kenta Kobashi versus Masawa. Love a bit of Kobashi, as you know. And then Namichi Marufuji versus Takeshi Suzori. Noah is just hard hitting, just like they kick the crap out of each other continuously. You would have seen the gif of that Noah, I think it was Nakajima, slapped that one guy and knocked him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Noah.
Is that where Nakamura was?
Yeah, Nakamura just fought there recently against.
I was going to say he was there recently.
I've just lied. That wasn't my top 5 match. I've just realised I've got a few 5 stars. So my 5 stars are Kenta and Taiji Ishimori versus Bryan Danielson and Eddie Edwards of random matchup. Masako Tanaka, who was from ECW, used to fight Mark Awesome a lot, and versus Takashita Sugiura. And then Katsuhiko Nakajima, love him, TEW, guy that slapped the guy, versus Keno. Moving up, so we're into the top 3 now. We've got Ring of Honor. No, we don't. We have Stardom. So I've spoiled who's number 2. We've got Stardom. I'll probably cut that out really quickly. So Stardom, best women's promotion in the world at the moment. 177 matches, 3.15 average. The Stardom you will see on all my lists are quite high up because it's just women's wrestling, but there's no alternative on the show, so with the women's wrestling, there will be good matches on there as well. Whereas, obviously, WWE, they could be middle of the card, they could be bottom of the card, they could be anywhere, they could be in a squash match. Stardom have, like, their top-rated girls, obviously, you know, I love Shuri. Like, all 4 5-star matches have got Shuri on. So you've got Julia versus Shuri, Hayashita versus Shuri, Hayashita versus Shuri, and Shuri versus Mayu Iwatani. All classic bangers of matches. Definitely a great one to watch. DP's a massive fan of them as well, as we've discussed. Yeah. Moving into the second, Ring of Honor, which probably is a surprise to people. 82 matches, I've watched them, 3.18. They were Stardom last year was second, by the way, so they've gone down. Last year, Ring of Honor were 4th, so they've gone up 2. That's probably due to FTR and the Briscoes, I'm going to be honest. Absolutely.
I was going to say, I think there's a common denominator here.
Yeah,
and it's FTR and the Briscoes have been on every show fighting.
Yeah, so 3 top rated matches, FTR versus Briscoes, FTR versus the Briscoes, and Samoa Joe versus Kenta Kobashi. Awesome matchup, just absolute hard, strong style, beating the crap out of each other. And this is all based upon, so AEW doesn't get a look in with the Ring of Honor shows, because I class them as 2 separate bands. But talking of AEW, at number 1, so the highest rated company at the moment is AEW. The reason for this, obviously, they've only been going 3 years, and they do put on good pay-per-view shows. Like, if you're booking it over weekly shows, they probably wouldn't be at number 1, but a pay-per-view wise. Rate 3.25. They were last year. They were first last year as well, and first the year prior. They've had a few 5-star classics on there. Obviously, they first started out with Dustin versus Cody Rhodes, which was an incredible match. Recently, you had Adam Page, Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega versus Cassidy versus Pac, which are rated 5 stars, because it threw me, that match, because I actually at one point first Cassidy was going to win.
Yeah, I think everyone there was a point just before the end where Omega won, where Cassidy had got the pin. You're like, holy shit, he's gonna do it.
Yeah. I was like, oh my god, it's happening. Like they know how to book good matches. But yeah, so that's the end of the rankings for this year. So all-time rankings, AEW #1.
Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, I thought they'd gone earlier in the list, and then when you said AEW, I was like, okay. But no, like you said, they do put on good pay-per-view cards, even if they are 12 hours long.
Yes.
Which is something they probably need to work on.
Well, the next show, there's going to be an Iron Man match, supposedly, so they can't have 12 matches in that, surely.
Oh, they'll find a way.
The kickoff will be 2 hours longer.
Yeah. And then I'll be kicking off.
Because the podcast is back.
Yeah. Yeah, like, no!
Let's go on hiatus for a week.
Yeah, right. We'll skip the pay-per-view. Because we'll be reviewing it until the next pay-per-view. If we well, no, so the list is there. The list of Rate Wrestle. Not to rip off anyone's gimmick. Unlucky to all of you who didn't make the list. Because I know you're going to be gutted.
Oh, no, they're all going to be good.
Well, AEW, your award is in the post. Congratulations to Tony Khan and his troops.
Booker of the year.
Booker of the year, Tony Khan. Well, yeah, that brings to an end the company awards. So join us on the next one, which will be tag team of the year. But yeah, follow us on our socials. Twitter
top.
at the HCW show. They are at the top. I don't know why I keep saying them. I should just point.
They weren't there previously, to be fair. So
right, okay. And yeah, there's YouTube, Twitch. We're going to be streaming a lot more, hopefully, over the coming weeks. So when you're seeing this, we might have streamed a lot more. Yeah, if we are streaming tonight. So if you go back 2 weeks,
you can watch a VOD of us streaming.
Yeah. But yeah, we're getting into that. We've got the ticket giveaway still going on, I believe.
Yeah, this video will be out. Yeah, it's because it'll be on the 16th this week.
So like, subscribe, do everything that the post tells you to do that we are sharing daily. If you want to be involved in the ticket draw, and we'll get these tickets out to you as quickly as we can once it's been drawn as well. The draw will be taking place live on Twitch on the 30th of January.
I think it's the 30 days or 31 days, and your 31 days, so it'll be it'll be Tuesday, days. Randomly a Tuesday, which is not fun.
Yeah. No, Tuesday's not good for anyone, but we'll do it. But yeah, so that'll be on the 31st of January. But yeah, leave comments, like, subscribe, do all the fun stuff. Get on the Discord. We do try and have a laugh in there where we can. But yeah, keep following, keep liking, and we'll keep pumping out the content. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Goodbye.